Welcome back to Movie Recap. Today I will tell you about a body swap sci-fi movie called The Immortalizer. As usual, just leave a like on this video and hit that subscribe button as it really helps. The film opens with a woman in distress, calling for help in a very weak voice. Suddenly a creepy fat-faced doctor is shown hovering over her with weird eyes, commenting on how strong her body is. He calls to his assistant Dr. Price, who picks up a huge syringe with bright yellow fluid. As they inject the captured female, she screams in horror and in pain. 4 teenagers, 2 girls and 2 boys sit in a diner, chatting about the movie they had just watched. The 4 then leave the diner, hand in hand, chatting and messing around along the way. Daryl, the dude in the jeans jacket, is apparently being a jerk, trying to get his grubby hands on his date. Little do they know that, around the corner, they are being watched by 4 creepy Mad Max Fury Road rejects, who are injecting themselves with some sort of drug. Suddenly, 2 of the Mad Max looking dudes jump out from around the corner, turning Daryl into a Christian. These 2 dudes, obviously jacked up, proceed to beat the living crap out of the 4 teens, while Daryl tries his best to not look like a wimp. However, at the end of it all 4 teenagers are captured and are being carried away when a police officer shows up. Apparently, his gun only fires at 5 feet or closer as he proceeds to get folded like a well-pressed shirt. The 2 other men then pull up in their trucks and kidnap the teenagers and drive their truck over the injured policeman before driving away and pulling into a garage. Next, a handsome surgeon, Dr. Timmons, arrives at the aging therapy clinic to begin working, being run by the creepy fat-faced doc from the opening of the film, named Dr. Devine, who then introduces Dr. Timmons to his assistant nurse Blaine. Dr. Timmons suspects Dr. Devine is up to something illegal, but he does not really care, hearing that the job pays well. Dr. Devine and his assistants then roll in the 4 kidnapped teens into their office, who by the judge of it are terrible kidnappers, as the kids are left laying on the bed without being tied up. If it were me, anyways. Somehow one of the teens, Greg, awakes and tries to get the others to wake up as well, but fails to do so before Monica, the nurse, enters the room. She strips down one of the teens and takes her clothes away, leaving her in a robe. Once the nurse leaves, Greg tries to grab the attention of a nosy neighbor through an open window, but fails. After running around trying to get away from doctors and assistants, who obviously learned how to chase their victims from Scooby-Doo villains, he jumps through a window and struggles to an open car. After being cornered by one of the doctors, Greg still manages to escape by throwing the lamest kick I have ever seen. He runs to a nearby police station which is closed and decides to break the windows in order to get attention. One single police officer then turns up from a different direction, making me wonder, was this some kind of decoy police station? Where was he? Why was the station closed? I think the chief needs to look into this. It turns out that this is the chief. Anyways, Greg is hauled inside, and even though he tries to tell the police officer about the kidnapping of his friends, the officer does not believe a word, thinking that he is on something. Meanwhile, the doctors are preparing the teens for a radical procedure, and Dr. Devine has his eyes on one special teen named Celia, making Nurse Blaine jealous. Obviously they're doing naughty stuff together. After the preparation, one creepy-looking assistant enters the teens' rooms and starts to have his way with the unconscious female, before being interrupted by Dr. Devine, who has entered the room with a wealthy old woman. It is revealed here that these wealthy old people want to live forever and employ Dr. Devine to kidnap young teens and surgically switch their brains with some movie science. Greg finally gets the sheriff to listen to him, and they both head over to the clinic in order to get some answers. They encounter Nurse Blaine, who denies Greg's stories and leads the sheriff around the empty mansion. It is then revealed that there are hidden doors and compartments all over the clinic, making it impossible to find anyone. Greg, frustrated, tries to get away from the sheriff, calling for his friends while being wrestled. Dr. Devine offers to keep Greg for observation, however the sheriff declines. Leading Greg out of the clinic, the teen tries again to make a run for it, this time being successful, kneeing the officer and hiding in a portable toilet. Greg makes his way to a house where he enters and watches as the sheriff drives away, not knowing that there is an armed old woman. When she confronts him, he asks for her help, and she agrees after he mentions that there is something strange with the nursing home. It turns out she was the nosy neighbor who saw him trying to escape. Dr. Devine shows Dr. Timmons the first step of the procedure, which is to inject the same yellow liquid into one of the teens named Daryl, causing him to go into a seizure-like state before seemingly dying on the table and being taken out by the nurse. Celia is the next patient, and Dr. Devine asks Dr. Timmons to inject her with the liquid, stopping him at the last minute, saying that it was a test. Greg sits and talks to Agnes, the old woman whose house he broke into, about the nursing home. She hands in a walkie-talkie and they plan to go break into the clinic to get more answers. Celia's surgery is up next, and Nurse Blaine rolls her into the operating theater, however she is not pleased. It turns out that Nurse Blaine wants to be the one to swap bodies with Celia, as she sees how Dr. Devine looks at her, and she wants to be young again. When Celia tries to escape, Nurse Blaine knocks her out with pleasure. Agnes then turns up to the nursing home under the guise of a wealthy woman looking for a fresh young body to swap. Nurse Blaine hands her a brochure and leaves, and Agnes takes the opportunity to 007 her way around the clinic, not knowing that she is being watched on the security feed by Dr. Devine. She hides from one of the clinic aides and comes face to face with the stored brains of past victims. She wanders around, eventually coming into the room where the injected patients are stored. It is revealed that the victims, who were injected by the yellow serum and not fit for surgery, turned into mindless angry beasts. Daryl, who was injected with the serum, wakes up and kills her. Greg, hearing Agnes's scream on the walkie-talkie, rushes over to the clinic, however the doors are closed. Dr. Devine finds Agnes's walkie-talkie and concludes that someone was listening and that they need to finish up their surgery and get out. Greg, however, gets Agnes's gun and shoots the lock, letting himself in. Suddenly he hears a voice on the loudspeakers and a trapdoor opens under his feet, causing him to fall into the pit where the monsters are. There he sees Daryl in his monster form and tries to reach out to him, but his friend is too far gone to hear him. The doctors head back into surgery where they remove the brain of a wealthy old man and discard of his body for the monsters to feed on. After a few hours, the surgery is complete and the doctors chat a little. Dr. Devine tells Dr. Timmons that he admires his surgical skills and wants him to carry on his work as him. Dr. Timmons is then captured and sedated, and it is revealed that Dr. Devine had employed Dr. Timmons simply to take over his body. Meanwhile, the wealthy old woman has now woken up in a younger body, and she loves every second of it, wanting to leave immediately to have some fun. Still captured, Greg tries to reach out to Daryl's human side. Meanwhile, after Dr. Devine's surgery, Nurse Blaine gets naughty with Dr. Price and convinces him to get her one of the young girl's bodies, promising a fun time for him if he should. Naturally, he agrees. When Greg is being tortured by one of the aides, he is helped by Daryl, who stabs the man with a gun in his back, causing Greg to escape. No kidding, he literally stabbed him with a gun. When the other monsters see this, they attack him, however Daryl helps him by fighting against the monsters who escape and begin roaming the clinic. Nurse Blaine and Dr. Price, who are getting ready to perform surgery, are attacked by the monsters, and the long standoff ensues with Dr. Price using his electric stick to fend off and defeat the monsters. Naturally. Greggs then gets a shotgun from who knows where, I didn't see that part, then re-enters the clinic instead of calling the police, naturally, as we would all do. He enters Dr. Devine's office, however who he sees is not Dr. Devine, but Dr. Timmons in Dr. Devine's body, who is freaked out and in pain and begs for help but is knocked out by Greg, who goes in search for his brother. He is attacked by Dr. Price and his gun wrestled from him, and he is then pushed down the body disposal, but then Daryl interrupts him as he is about to turn on the disposal, giving Greg enough time to escape. Daryl, however, is shot and seemingly killed. Greg finds Celia and saves her from Nurse Blaine with the heaviest punch I've seen in this movie since, and when Dr. Price tries to stop him, Daryl saves him and dies again, for the third time. For good. I could be wrong. The police and ambulance turn up, arresting Dr. Timmons trapped in Dr. Devine's body, however there is no sign of Nurse Blaine or the real Dr. Devine. Even after seeing all this, the sheriff still does not believe Greg that there are two more doctors and the nurse, despite knowing their names at the beginning of the movie. 3 months later, a beautiful blonde arrives at a large house and is greeted at the door by Nurse Blaine and Dr. Devine in Dr. Timmons' body, who tells her that Nurse Blaine is going to love her. Thanks for watching, please remember to leave a like on this video and hit that subscribe button as it really helps. You can check out my other videos here.